and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, one God. Greetings to the host, and to all of our sisters. Thank you for the invitation to present this research paper on the title Beyond the Sanctuary: Women's Authority, Service, and Participation in the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church. I'm just going to read. This is just reading the whole time. So if anybody has any questions, we can, you can raise your hands at the end. I think there should be more than half an hour for questions remaining. So I'm just going to read. And if it's not coming through, just let me know. Discussion of women in the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church often begins with the fact that women are not ordained as priests or bishops. That fact is important, but it is an inadequate measure of women's place in the church. This paper asks instead how women have made the church live, endure, teach, govern, and serve. It argues that women's contribution is visible across the whole history of Ethiopian Christianity, in the biblical and sacred story of Ethiopia, in the witness of holy women, nuns, queens, founders, and landholders, in household formation and mutual aid, and especially in modern parish councils and Sunday schools. The Fatanagus, or the Law of the Kings, reserves priestly office to men, but also preserves the ministry of the deaconess in women's baptism and chrismation. The revised Galawadi expressly makes women eligible to vote and to be elected to parish councils. Oral testimony further indicates that women helped establish parish council administration during the Patriarch of Abuna Theophilus and sustained it later under the Derg. Sunday schools have given girls and women systematic theological education, teaching and musical ministries, elected leadership, and a route into parish governance. Contemporary examples including Imahoy Zaina Mariam, a teacher of Giz and Keni, and Imahoy Tsege Mariam, founder and administrator of Abuna Tekla Haymanot Academy, show that women's educational authority extends beyond children's instruction. Women's service is therefore not peripheral assistance to an otherwise male church. It is one of the principal means by which the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church transmits faith, maintains parish life, educates its people, and renews its institutions. What does it mean to ask about the role of women in the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church? If the question means only may women become priests or bishops, the answer is brief. The Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church reserves those sacramental offices to men only. The Ethiopic Didascalia, or Metapha Didascalia, states the rule directly in its chapter against women baptizing. It says as follows: as we have already said, suffer not the women to admonish or teach, or execute the office of the priesthood, which is not commanded in the law. And he that doeth thus hath transgressed against God, and is as those who are without knowledge, even those that appoint women to be priestesses to graven images of women. Such women keep far away from the institution of Christ. That's again Metapha Didascalia, or Ethiopic Didascalia, translated by Harden in 1920, and it's page 91. Chapter 15 in the Metapha Didascalia, or the Didascalia. But if the question is, how have women made the church live, endure, and act? The answer encompasses almost every part of Ethiopian Christian history. Women have transmitted prayer and fasting within households, sponsored and founded churches, held and donated ecclesiastical land, established and governed religious communities, taught children and clergy, practiced sacred learning, organized charitable support, sung and taught hymns, served on parish councils, and formed new generations through Sunday schools. This paper praises those contributions within the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church's own theological and institutional order. It does not treat ordination as the only genuine form of Christian service, nor does it deny the Church's male priesthood. Rather, it examines the recognized responsibilities through which women sustain ecclesial life. The central claim is that women have served the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church through sacramentally related ascetic, devotional, educational, economic, charitable, and administrative ministries. Parish councils and Sunday schools deserve particular attention because they have brought women's long-standing service into durable modern institutions. The evidence also shows that women themselves were agents in building those institutions, not merely later beneficiaries of rules written by men. The sources differ in kind. The Phtanagist and the Ethiopic Didaskalia state canonical norms. The Kibranagist, the Synaxarium, and saints' lives express sacred memory. Land documents record women's ownership and patronage. The Galawadi defines parish government. Amharic church histories describe Sunday school and council development. Interviews preserve institutional memories not yet adequately published. And contemporary recordings document women teaching, reciting Geni, poetry, founding schools, and administering Orthodox institutions. The sources should not be forced to say the same thing. Taken together, however, they show a long history of female contribution that clerical lists alone cannot reveal. Women in sacred Ethiopian history. Ethiopian sacred history. The Church's account of women begins in Scripture. Male and female are created in the image of God, and women and men enter the one body of Christ through baptism. Both receive the Eucharist, undertake fasting, confession, almsgiving, and prayer, and may attain sanctity. The Ethiopian biblical, synaxarial, and the liturgical traditions place holy women before the faithful throughout the year. Matriarchs, prophetesses, disciples, martyrs, monastics, and Ethiopian saints. Ethiopian sacred history reaches further back than the 4th century conversion of the Aksumite kingdom. In the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church's account of its 3,000-year history, Makeda, the Queen of Sheba, occupies a foundational place. The biblical queen travels to hear Solomon's wisdom in 1 Kings chapter 10, verses 1 to 13. The Kibranagest, or glory of the kings, identifies her with Ethiopia and makes her encounter with Solomon part of the story of Menelik I and the Ark of the Covenant. Whatever historical questions scholars ask of the text, within Ethiopian tradition, Makeda is not decorative. She is a sovereign seeker of wisdom whose decision joins royal legacy, royal agency, the reception of faith, and the sacred history of the nation. An appraisal of women in the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church should therefore recognize that a woman stands at the threshold of Ethiopia's own account of its own biblical inheritance. In the New Testament, the Theotokos is foremost among holy women, but she does not stand alone. The tradition of the 36 holy women, or in Ge'ez, Gedesat Anest, remembers women numbered among the first community of believers, the 120, what we call Betaseb, or the first members of the Church of Christ. For example, Mary Magdalene, Mary and Martha, the sisters of Lazarus, Salome, and other women who followed Christ, served him, remained with the apostolic community, and shared his life at Pentecost. This traditional list shows that the first church is remembered not as an exclusively male company, but as a praying, serving community of men and women gathered around the Theotokos, St. Mary, and the apostles. The Virgin Mary gives this memory its fullest theological expression. She is the Theotokos, the birth giver of God, the Holy Twofold Virgin, and the foremost intercessor. Her feasts structure the liturgical year, and her images and prayers accompany Ethiopian Christians through illness, danger, childbirth, poverty, and death. Through her consent and body, female humanity stands at the center of the incarnation. This motherly faith also shapes ordinary formation. Women teach children to make the sign of the cross, to wear the mateb, observe feasts and fasts, honor saints, attend the divine liturgy, and seek confession and spiritual guidance. These repeated practices are not merely domestic custom, they are the first curriculum of the Church. Canonical order and the ministry of deaconesses. The Verteidigest, or the Law of the Kings, became an authoritative compendium of ecclesiastical and civil law in Christian Ethiopia. It addresses clergy, baptism, marriage, poverty, inheritance, and public order. It must be read as a normative text rather than as a transcript of every Ethiopian practice, but it remains essential for understanding the legal categories through which the Church ordered service. The text reserves clerical ministry to men, yet it also preserves a specific female ecclesiastical ministry, the deaconess. In its instructions for the baptism of women, the bishop or priest anoints the woman's head, while the deaconess anoints the rest of her body, using the priest or deacon's hand. The arrangement protects modesty during a rite that historically involved the anointing of the unclothed baptismal candidate. The deaconess does not baptize or perform the priest's sacramental office. Her service is nevertheless sacramentally related, regulated, and necessary to the proper celebration of women's baptism and chrismation. This evidence corrects two possible errors. It would be wrong to equate deaconesses with priests, but it would also be wrong to imagine that the canonical tradition knows no formally identified female ministry, whether, where, and in what form this ministry or office remains active in the contemporary Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church remains a further field of research. Requires further field research. This historical norm is clear, and even when present practice is not. Women were assigned a ministry that joined bodily care, ecclesiastical order, and the dignity of female catechumens. The Verteidigest also treats marriage and property as matters of ecclesial and public responsibility. Its provisions can be restrictive by modern standards, but they place marriage under moral discipline rather than unrestricted male disposal, and recognize women within inheritance. Ethiopian documents still reveal more active practice. Habtamu Mengiste Tagenga's study of church and monastic records from the 18th to the 20th century finds women buying, selling, inheriting, donating, and administering land, acting as family leaders and founding churches. That's Habtamu's paper, pages 199 to 211. Their property supported clergy, buildings, feasts, memorials, manuscripts, and charitable obligations. A woman's gift could shape the worship of a community for generations. The sanctuary and related liturgical ministry remain male domains. Men and women also commonly occupy different areas during worship. Ecclesial disciplines concerning bodily purity exist, but they are not a principal subject of this paper. They should not obscure the wider question addressed here, which is the positive forms of service, learning, counsel, patronage, and governance through which women participate in the life of the Church. Saints, nuns, founders, and patrons. Female sanctity is one of the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church's most powerful forms of recognized authority. Saint Christosemra, associated with Lake Dana, is remembered for ascetic struggle, visions, and bold intercession for sinners. Her life transforms motherhood into a universal spiritual maternity. Her prayer extends beyond her biological household to the whole human community. Saint Willetta Petros exercised another form of authority during the 17th century Catholic crisis. She resisted royal and Catholic pressure, gathered disciples, preserved the Tewahedo confession, and established communities around Lake Dana. Her authority was ascetic and confessional, but it also had institutional and political consequences. Nuns embody this contribution in continuing community or communal form. A woman who enters monastic life undertakes prayer, fasting, work, hospitality, and spiritual counsel within a consecrated community. An abbess or senior nun guides other women and administers common life, even though clergy remain necessary for the Eucharist and sacramental ministry. Female monasteries preserve sacred memory, receive pilgrims, offer counsel, care for those in need, and create disciplined spaces in which women's spiritual authority is recognized. Contemporary women also found and govern educational institutions. Emohoy Zegi-Mariam, who you can see on the screen, is the founder and administrator of Abuna Tekla Haymanot Academy in Mizan Aman. In an extended television interview, she describes her monastic vocation and institutional work. Her example joins ascetic identity with educational entrepreneurship and administration. She is not simply assisting a male-founded institution, she is its founder and manager. Such examples show that female monastic authority in the present age may include budgets, staff, students, buildings, and the long-term direction of an Orthodox academy. Royal women likewise shaped Christian landscape. Queen Leni combined dynastic position, diplomacy, and religious patronage. Empress Sebelewengel endured the wars of Ahmegrang and participated in the recovery of the Christian Empire. Empress Mentawab exercised major political influence and supported the Gondarin churches, including the Church of Kusquam. These women directed land, wealth, labor, and memory toward ecclesiastical ends. Their status was exceptional, but their work establishes an important principle. Patronage and foundation are forms of church building authority because they determine what institutions can exist, teach, worship, and endure. Parish councils, women as builders of modern parish government. The parish council, or Sebaka is one of the most important modern institutions for understanding women's contribution. It provides an organized arena in which clergy and faithful bring knowledge, labor, finance, and service to the administration of a parish. Its rise belongs to the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church's transition from an institution sustained largely through imperial land arrangements to one supported through registered members, regular contributions, accounts, and organized local participation. An Amharic institutional history associates the decisive modern reorganization which Patriarch Abuna Theophilos undertook. In 1965, Ethiopian calendar, or in the Gregorian calendar 1972 through 73, the Galawadi established parish council administration to strengthen cooperation between clergy and laity and provide a regular material basis for church service. The Derg's nationalism of church lands soon made this organized lay support even more consequential. Parish councils help churches survive a period in which older sources of income and public privilege were sharply reduced. Women were not merely included after the institution had been built. Interviews conducted for this paper indicate that women contributed considerably to the establishment of parish council administration during the Patriarchate of Abuna Theophilos and to its continuation under the Derg. They registered, contributed money and labor, raised funds, mobilized households, supported church workers, and took part in the practical organization on which the new system depended. This oral testimony needs further documentation through parish archives and interviews with the first generation of participants. It is nevertheless historically important. A regulation can establish a council on paper, but only organized faithful can make it function. Women were among those institution builders. The fourth revised Galawadi issued in 2009 Ethiopian calendar or 2017 Gregorian calendar makes women's formal standing explicit. Adult members of the faithful may vote, in quotes, irrespective of genders, male and female. And candidates from the faithful are eligible, again in quotes, regardless of gender. Sunday school candidates between 18 and 35 are likewise eligible regardless of gender, provided they are registered, competent, firm in the faith, and in good standing concerning the church's dogma, canon, and order. These provisions concern real authority, not ceremonial attendance. The local administrative council includes clergy, elected members of the faithful, and a Sunday school representative. It handles property, finance, employment, education, preaching arrangements, social service, development, legal matters, and the supervision of Sunday schools. A woman elected as a faithful or youth representative may therefore deliberate about budgets, buildings, charitable programs, teachers, and children's formation. She helps create the material and administrative conditions in which the parish's sacramental life can continue. The council remains clerically ordered. The parish administrator, ordinarily a priest or monastic superior, chairs it. Doctrines and mysteries remain under clerical oversight, and diocesan authority confirms elections. Women's council authority is thus lay and administrative, rather than priestly. This distinction clarifies rather than diminishes their work. Repairing a roof, paying church workers, keeping accounts, securing teaching materials, assisting a bereaved family, and planning a feast are not substitutions for the Eucharist. They are ecclesial responsibilities without which a Eucharistic community cannot remain stable. The Galawadi also articulates a theology of shared responsibility. The faithful serve through financial contribution, education, administration, development, social service, wealth, knowledge, and labour. The parish is therefore not imagined as clergy acting while lay people merely observe. It is a cooperative body with differentiated responsibilities. Women's council service belongs within this positive account of the faithful, not as a concession imported from outside Orthodox tradition. Formal eligibility alone does not tell us how many women serve, what offices they hold, or how their work varies between regions and the diaspora. The Church does not appear to publish readily accessible gender disaggregated figures for parish councillors, treasurers, department heads, or diocesan staff. This is a limitation of the evidence, not proof of women's absence. Parish records and oral histories are therefore especially important. They can recover the names of founders, first councillors, fundraisers, organizers, and teachers whose work is remembered locally but not yet present in national histories. Sunday schools, education, leadership, and renewal. Sunday schools deserve equally sustained attention because they have reshaped the relationship among lay identity, education, hymnody, and church leadership. Traditional Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church education preserves Ge'ez reading, liturgical chant, Kene poetry, scriptural interpretation, and the learned commentatorial tradition. Much advanced study has historically been associated with male clerical and diptera vocations, yet women's participation cannot be described simply as absence. Women learned through households, worship, monastic communities, and oral teaching, and contemporary evidence demonstrates that women can also become publicly recognized teachers of the advanced tradition. The modern Sunday school movement created a broad and organized educational public. An Amharic history of the Addis Ababa Diocese traces youth organization to 1936 Ethiopian calendar, which is 1943 through 44 in the Gregorian calendar, when young men receiving instruction at the Holy Trinity Cathedral formed Mahabara Selassie, the Association of the Trinity. The cathedral later encouraged young women who came for prayer and worship to establish Mahabara Christos, the Association of Christ. The separate association gave women an organized platform for instruction, fellowship, singing, and service. It also provides an early example of women moving from attendance to collective agency. The movement expanded through Ethiopian and international Orthodox connections. Coptic teachers trained Ethiopian Sunday school instructors in 1951 to 1952 Gregorian calendar. Temero Mastamar, or in its English translation, Learn and Teach, was established in 1958 for instruction, pilgrimage, and aid to the needy. Under the Patriarch Abuna Theophilos, a formal Sunday school movement developed with a curriculum extending from doctrine and church law to family and community life. Student associations endured even under the Derg and helped create the networks from which Mahabara Dasan emerged in 1991 under the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church's Sunday school department. Sunday school in the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church is therefore more than a weekly children's class. It is an Orthodox lay movement that combines catechesis, Bible study, dogma, canon, liturgy, hymnody, pilgrimage, charity, print, media, and organizational training. The 2017 Galawadi assigns its parish unit. I'll read that again. The 2017 Galawadi assigns its parish unit wide responsibilities. Members from 4 to 35 study approved curricula. The unit establishes libraries, develops teachers, organizes educational performances, administers plans and revenues under parish oversight, and elects leaders for 3-year terms. A Sunday school representative sits on the parish administrative council, linking education directly to the governance. For girls and women, the effects are extensive. Sunday school provides systematic instruction beyond household formation. It authorizes women to teach children and young members, to lead study, to organize programs, to prepare publications, and to sing theological texts before congregations. Elected offices train them in agendas, minutes, finance, planning, and accountability. The reserved Sunday school place on the parish council provides a route from learning to administration. National and diaspora networks extend this work into translation, broadcasting, digital media, charitable campaigns, and cultural education. The movement's importance is especially clear in the diaspora. A Sunday school may teach doctrine together with Ge'ez, Amharic, and/or another Ethiopian language, liturgical responses, music, fasting, etiquette, dress, and communal memory. Women often coordinate these tasks as teachers, parents, musicians, and organizers. They mediate between generations and between Ethiopian and host cultures. Through them, children learn not only information about Orthodoxy, but how to inhabit an Orthodox pattern of time, prayer, food, language, and relationship. Women's educational contribution is not confined to children. Mohoe Zena Mariam, who you can see on the screen, provides direct contemporary evidence. Recordings show her teaching Ge'ez and presenting Kene poetry at a graduation ceremony attended by doctoral graduates. She has taught men, including clergy, at the Holy Trinity Theological University, one of the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church's foremost modern theological institutions. She is properly described as a mimhert, a learned female teacher. Her public performance of Kene poetry is particularly significant because Kene represents disciplined mastery of Ge'ez language, theology, interpretation, and poetic composition. Her example demonstrates that a woman's recognized teaching authority can extend into advanced sacred learning and the formation of clergy. Mohoe Zena Mariam and Mohoe Zage Mariam also widen our understanding of the relationship between monasticism and Sunday school renewal. The modern educational contribution of nuns may include traditional scholarship, university teaching, public intellectual performance, academy foundation, and administration. These are not departures from service to the church. They are contemporary forms of transmitting its inherited knowledge. Women's gatherings, known as Gubai Anest, literally women's assembly, add another dimension to Sunday school and parish life. Their responsibilities include programs such as instruction, commemoration of holy women, accounts of women's life, experiences, discussions, hymnody, and artistic activities. These gatherings therefore provide settings in which women study, discuss matters concerning them, counsel one another, commemorate female saints, and organize service. A mixed parish council may describe general administrative business, whereas a women's assembly can identify particular pastoral needs, cultivate mutual counsel, and form women for wider ecclesiastical participation. Associations, charity, hymnody, and the parish economy. Women's service also flows through Maiber and other devotional associations. Members gather under the patronage of a saint or the Virgin Mary, host meals, pray, collect contributions, visit the sick, assist the bereaved, and preserve a calendar of mutual obligations. At scale, these activities form a Christian welfare network. They move food, money, information, hospitality, and care through the community. In migration or crisis, they may help families find housing, work, childcare, and spiritual support. Parish charitable units formalize similar service. Women fundraise, distribute food, assist elderly people and mothers, visit the sick, organize funerals, and participate in Sunday school aid projects. Such work is sometimes described as helping, but that word can conceal its institutional weight. Regular care creates trust. Trusted networks identify needs. And organized giving enables a parish to act beyond the liturgy. Women are among the people through whom the church becomes materially present to suffering members. Hymnody, likewise, is a teaching ministry. Sunday school choirs have enabled women to sing approved theological texts before congregations and through recordings and broadcasts. A hymn fixes scripture and doctrine in memory and gives communal emotion and disciplined Christian form. Women who teach, direct, translate, compose, or perform hymns therefore participate in proclamation. The public any poetry of Mohoe Zena Mariam shows the highest learned extension of this principle. Sacred poetry can be both artistic performance, and theological interpretation. Financial service should also be named plainly. Modern parishes depend upon dues, collections, fundraising meals, sales, donations, and voluntary labor. Women who mobilize these resources are sustaining clergy, buildings, education, charity, and feast days. Their role belongs in the history of church administration as well as the history of devotion. The early parish council movement under Abune Theophilos and the Derg makes this especially evident. Women's organized contribution helped replace resources lost with the old land system and made congregational support a stable feature of parish life. A balanced appraisal. The evidence permits a positive assessment without confusing distinct ministries. The Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church's holy orders are male. Didascalia does not authorize women to perform the clerical office, but the same canonical world recognizes a deaconess's necessary ministry to female baptismal candidates. The sacred tradition honors Queen Makeda, the Theotokos, the women of the first apostolic community, female saints, and monastic mothers. Legal and property records show women endowing churches. Modern history shows them building parish councils and Sunday schools. Contemporary witness shows them teaching gears and any poetry, educating clergy, founding academies, and administrating institutions. The strongest finding is therefore not that women serve despite the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church's tradition, but that their service is embedded within that tradition's history and institutions. Their authority is differentiated. A deaconess does not replace a priest. A counselor does not preside at the Eucharist. A Sunday school teacher does not become a bishop, and an abbess does not cease to require sacramental ministry. Yet each bears a responsibility the Church needs. Differentiation should not become invisibility. There remain questions for research. Present practice concerning deaconesses needs careful documentation. National and diocesan figures on women in councils, education, and administration are not readily available. The early history of women's work in the Sabaka Gubaye deserves an oral history project before the first generation of participants is lost. The lives and writings of female scholars and nuns require collection in Amharic and Ge'ez. These are not primarily demands or to create new offices. They are tasks of remembering the Church's own servants. Conclusion. Women have not occupied one single role in the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church. They have been seekers of wisdom, disciples, martyrs, saints, intercessors, nuns, abbesses, queens, landholders, founders, teachers, poets, singers, counselors, fundraisers, carers, and transmitters of faith.
Projects team is doing CPR.
Doing CPR?
We're doing CPR this morning. Oh, we signed up a loan worker like 4 couple of months ago.
Oh, I didn't.
No, I had sent it around to everybody a long time ago.
Okay, maybe I
But you weren't on the team then.
Oh,
We signed up a loan
yeah,
worker.
I think I've done it.
Derek, but he does it. Derek?
He does it.
He does it periodically. But if you're wondering where we all, I'm just letting you know we're doing
Okay, so that's
CPR.
what we were doing.
Yeah, we're
have you
just on
finished?
lunch break now.
Oh, I won't do it because I forget.
Yeah.
Really,
Sister
Yeah.
Diana,
You
your
have to
mic
sign
is
up and
open.
yes, these are crazy.
Yes, I've done it already.
Yes, thank you very much. I'll just complete my final paragraph with conclusion. Women have not occupied one single role in the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church. They have been seekers of wisdom, disciples, martyrs, saints, intercessors, nuns, abbesses, queens, landholders, founders, teachers, poets, singers, counselors, fundraisers, carers, and transmitters of faith. From Queen Makeda in Ethiopia's sacred national story and the Theotokos with the apostolic community, through Saint Christos Semra and Saint Wrete Petros to the women who endowed churches and sustained households. Their service belongs to the church's central history. In the modern period, parish councils and Sunday schools have given this service especially durable forms. Women helped establish and sustain parish council administration during the institutional upheavals of the Patriarchate of Abuna Theophilus into the Derg period. The Kalawadi now confirms their right to vote and be elected. Sunday schools have equipped girls and women to study, teach, sing, organize, publish, serve, and enter parish governance. Gubayanis provides a space for mutual counsel and leadership. Mahoy Zaina Mariam's teaching and Kenny and Mahoy Zege Mariam's foundation and administration of an academy demonstrate the breadth of women's contemporary educational authority. The distinction between permission and participation remains useful. A constitution can recognize eligibility while local history preserves the fuller story of who actually built the institution. The evidence gathered here moves beyond permission. It shows participation already occurring in councils, classrooms, monasteries, academies, choirs, associations, homes, and charitable networks. The proper task is not to invert a place for women in the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, but to recognize, record, and value the many ways in which women have long made the church live. Thank you for your attention. Just have a closing paragraph, some housekeeping. So this is the acknowledgement. This paper was drafted primarily with the assistance of ChatGPT under the author's direction. Its argument and revisions reflect the author's instructions, critiques, interviews, and supplied Amharic and English source materials. The author remains responsible for the paper's claims and presentation. Thank you very much. If we have any questions, I can see, let me see what time it is now. Okay, it's nearly 10 past. So I think we have around 50 minutes for discussion.
Okay, we would like to, first of all, thank you, Deacon Tesfa Mikael, for your wonderful presentation. And as we can see, women have had a role in the church and in the ministry, Christ's ministry, even in the scriptures. So as our deacon said, there's no need to invent anything. Many people look at the priesthood and say, you know, women can't get there. Well, that is reserved for males. But every other ministry in the church, the women can serve as supporters and nurturers and teachers so that we are whole, all have a place to play, a role to play in the church. So we would now like to open the floor to any questions that you may have. Any questions?
I'm also open to any general feedback or, you know, positions that anyone holds in relation to the subject matter.
We have a question from Sister Sigute Selassie.
Thank you, Deacon, for your presentation. I've made some notes, but I recall that you mentioned several times in your presentation Mahaiba in the Caribbean, that we don't really practice Mahaibas. I was wondering whether you could give us a little insight into how they're held. I know in England that I've done it. I've been part of one, but we don't practice them here. So I don't know if you can give us some background on where they were, when they were introduced, and how we do them. I mean, there has to be a priest, yes, that gives spiritual. I'll leave it to you to explain if you can. Is that something you can do?
Yes, yeah. So that's actually something I'm working on in the regards of the Order of Prayer. So yeah, I was part of St. Gabriel's Mahaiba in London. And you know, I translated the Melka of Gabriel, Melka Gabriel, so that we can commemorate the Archangel Michael on a monthly basis. So yeah, the work that I'm doing is to lay out the proper order of the Maiber. So, you know, you begin with what we call common prayer, Yizot Tzalot, and then we're going to Wadasi Mariam, the veneration of Our Lady Mary, Virgin Theotokos, and then after the daily prayers read, you know, so it could be any day of the week. Normally, our meetings were on a Sunday, but generally in Ethiopia, that's not the practice. You know, over here, the saint is commemorated. It could be, you know, as in the case, our case, so be in honor of an occasion. But I have never actually encountered that in person. It's normally a saint, you know. So, for example, in the UK again, you have Saint Mary's Maiber. Saint Gabriel's is the men's Maiber. The women's Maiber, Saint Mary, right? Although you might see men there and women at the men's Maiber, you know, it's generally, you know, it's like that. The men discuss more with the men and so on. And there's a children's Maiber, Saint Tekla Haymanot. But the order of prayer, yeah, after the prayers for the day is recited, you know, we have the prayer that I mentioned, the Melka of Gabriel, and that's it's recited after those prayers, and then after that, there's another prayer we call Sa'al Naka. Sa'al Naka is literally means you know, we have besought you, and it's the prayer for the blessing of the bread and the cup. So beforehand, 2 loaves will be prepared. The first one would be a larger loaf, and then the second one would be a smaller loaf. So at the beginning, the larger loaf is blessed with this prayer, Al Naka. And then the cup contains normally it's like juice, you know, and you share the bread and the cup. So everybody drinks from the same cup. Afterwards, the bread is cut into slices, and at the same time, yeah, when that's being blessed, also there'll be water laid out on the table where the prayers are recited, and you know, because the melka of the saint is recited over that, they were blessed in the name of the saints, and then that holy water will go around the person's house, and you know, the house will be blessed with holy water. After that, or during the sprinkling of holy water around the house, the holy bread will be divided up among the people. And again, as I said, we all drink from the same cup. That's the members. So only the members of the Mahabar or association eat the bread and drink of the cup at the beginning. But the second one is for guests as well. All right, which is at the very end. So following that, you have the discussion. You know, there should be an agenda. There's a Muse, the leader of the Mahabharata is called the Muse, and the discussion will be led by the Muse. It could be anything related to, you know, all sorts of things. You know, somebody in the community is unwell, going through problems, or there might be a fundraising event which is being put together, and we need to discuss this or that. For example, you know, we were working a lot on completion of the building that we moved into last November. So a lot of the discussion was about the preparations to move into our building, and you know, security, how the brothers can, you know, be involved in the security, and this kind of thing. So it's kind of quite broad. You know, the discussion can take many forms, and then there's normally a meal cooked. So the members will share the meal, and as well as the invited guests share the meal. And after the meal, again, there will be the election of the choice of the next host. So whoever's house it was on that day will kneel down and they will receive a special blessing from the priest. Normally there's a priest there leading it, so this is the full order with when the priest is there that I'm telling you. And then when they're blessed, the decision for the choice of the next host will be made. It's normally made in advance, but the person will formally come forward and say, yes, I am the next lover of Saint Gabriel, and they kneel down in front of the icon. The priest blesses them again, and then the following month, the host for the following month again kneels down after that and receives a blessing from the priest in front of the icon. And the person who is to take the icon and the cup, the vessels to their house for the next month, we'll pack those things up and take them with them. So that's that. Then there's the blessing of the second loaf, which is a kind of less ceremonious blessing. Let's say the first one that I mentioned, which is only for the members, Al Naka. That's a long prayer. It invokes many saints, angels, and yeah, that's included in the book that I'm putting together. Then there will be a mezmor. We sing together mezmor. So if it's in honor of the Archangel Gabriel, we'll sing a mezmor in honor of Saint Gabriel, because it's his monthly commemoration that we're celebrating on that day. Even though sometimes it might be on a Sunday for sake of convenience rather than the actual day, as it's normally practiced over here. And then everybody will take the slice of the second loaf, and they will depart after that. So that's the order. As far as the history is confirmed, I'm sure it developed over the centuries, but it must go back as far, I would say, as we can remember in the Ethiopian church is one of the earliest institutions, I would say. But yes, Mohe Hannah Mariam, I can see you have your hand raised.
Good afternoon, Deacon. I can't see who I see. Amda Burhan. Good afternoon. I think the rest are women. Good afternoon to everyone. I missed the first part of your presentation. I just got the last part. But if I may comment on the last question, I believe what you're describing is not really the Mahaber. That's just one part of it. Like the one particular ceremony. The Mahaber, the association, actually do exist in the Caribbean. It exists in the diaspora as well, more strongly. For instance, in DC, in LA, in Washington State, not Washington, DC, and in Miami, where I resided for some time, the association is very strong. It's not so strong anymore in the Caribbean. The Mahaber system in the Caribbean churches looks different from in Addis and in the U.S. diaspora. But it was first organized in the Caribbean in the late 70s by the then Archbishop of the Western Hemisphere, Abuna Isaac of blessed memory. It looks more like the Sisterhood or Women's Guild is what it was called instead of Mahaber, but it was the same system. What you described, that ceremony, is a part of it. And that ceremony used to be strong, especially in Kingston. It's dwindled almost to nothing now, but it did exist at one time. over the past years leading up to now, the numbers in the Women's Guild and the sisterhood has dwindled, and is not functioning as it was before. Part of the reason is because they haven't been attracting young women to the church. The older women, is participating less and less due to age. The main sisterhood, which is not functioning, as I said, as it used to, but the main sisterhood or Women's Guild now in Jamaica, Trinidad here, Bermuda, and Barbados, still have some form of it functioning under the sisterhood. Just like everywhere else, they're organized around saints, yes. It's like St. Mary's Woman Guild or Sisterhood, St. Gabriel, and they do the functions that you just mentioned, honoring the saints. For instance, in addition, you have, I would say, 50 to 200 members in a parish. In the Caribbean, you maybe have 10 to 30 in the parish, if even 10, that's functioning. They have monthly meetings, but usually they only participate fully around feast days or something like that. I don't want to take up too much time, but there is a deep history of Mahiber in the diaspora. But as I said, I don't want to take up too much time, but it does exist.
Okay, Mohi, yeah, much appreciated. Thank you for your presence and also sharing your knowledge. Yeah, that's valuable information. Yeah, of course, my short breakdown of the monthly ceremony, as you put it, is just actually one aspect of the Mahaber itself. As I mentioned, the choice for the following month is made prior to the Mahaber meeting itself, the gathering. So yeah, obviously there's a lot more that goes on with the Mahaber and in terms of organization and discussion, and yeah, I just mentioned one aspect of the prayer, the central kind of the gathering. So yeah, thank you for the information about the history in the Caribbean and the diaspora more generally. So yeah, much appreciated. And anyone else who has any questions, please let me know.
I have a question.
Mariam.
I wanted to ask, are there any, because I live in Atlantic City, New Jersey, there aren't any Ethiopian Orthodox churches here. We have one in Philly, but there's none in Atlantic City. Are there any, usually when I do go to church, I usually travel all the way to New York City to be at the Mariam. And are there any sisterhoods that I can join online for help and guidance in my journey? Because I just received penance and came back to church. And because I live so far away, I drifted away from the church. And now that I'm back involved again, I wanted to stay up to date with everything, be a part of a lot of things and learn a lot more as well. Sometimes I can't travel all the way to New York, but I try to, I've been doing pretty good with traveling back and forth recently. So I wanted to know, are there any online programs that I can join? Any numbers that can be exchanged so that way I can enhance my my relationship with God and the faith?
Yes, thank you for your question, Waleta Mariam. If you want to put your number in the chat, you can send me a direct message, and I'll try and put you in touch with someone. I think there is a church in New Jersey. It's my understanding that that's the case. If you put your phone number so I can call you on WhatsApp in the chat, I'll try and put you in touch with guess it's Safer Selassie Gordon, who's from New York originally. Yeah, thank you very much. Write that down. And yeah, he should be able to put you in touch with somebody. He lives in Kansas City, but he's originally from New York. So yeah, Let me just write down your number. Somebody else had their hand up. Ascala Brobelt.
Yes, good afternoon. I have two questions. Number one, when women get baptized, should there be a female there along with the clergy when women get baptized? And number two, can you tell us how women today can learn how to practice to start a mahaber? What are some of the rules that we should start with?
Okay, thank you very much, Ascala. Yeah, so to get started, I mean, as I said, I'm putting together a booklet. It's essentially a booklet just with the information I just mentioned in terms of the order of prayer and the prayers themselves. And it's specifically because it depends on the saint who's commemorated on what day. It depends on the prayers for that saint, but yeah, my small booklet will be just for Saint Gabriel's Mahaber, so we'll include the Mezmor at the end will be for Saint Gabriel and the Melka of Gabriel. So that's kind of one way that the ceremony, the gathering itself, can be improved upon. But I would say, for establishing a mahaber, is part of the church. So it should be within your local church, depending on where you are. It would be based on, the guidance of the priests, and the blessing should really be of the bishop. But if the bishop is not there for any reason, the priest can give the mahaber blessing to start, and then he will guide you more and more. But yeah, to some extent, as I said, the booklet should help with that. There was another question you mentioned it as well. Sorry, I forget now.
When females get baptized,
Yes.
should there be a female available instead of just the deacons?
Right. Yes. Yeah. There should be other women attending there, so witnesses essentially. As I mentioned in my paper, we don't have any solid information. I've been told personally that there are deaconesses functioning in the country, in Ethiopia, but I've never come across a deaconess myself or seen that ministry being undertaken. So yeah, I can't say whether that is actually taking place or not, just based on that. But in a normal baptism, especially if it's an adult woman, there should be female witnesses there as well. That would be my feedback on that. I think that would be accepted by everyone.
Not to interrupt, but
Yes.
when I was being baptized, I was appointed a godmother, and she guided me. Up until this day, she still guides me, and we still conversate, and she teaches me what she knows, and that's how I'm able to get by sometimes with her help. So I was appointed a godmother during baptism, and that's how I actually learned the faith. She gave me books and things of that sort in order to learn my sacraments and the 5 pillars and things of that nature.
Okay, good, thanks. Yeah, sometimes you'll find the newly baptized have a sometimes it's called a sponsor, or godmother or godfather. Yıkırsana abat, yıkırsana nat, right? So it's literally translates as Christian mother or Christian father from Amharic to English. But yeah, if there is a godmother present, then of course, she would be a witness. Sometimes, however, the newly baptized are given to the tabot of the church. So that's another practice. Sometimes, you don't have a godmother or a godfather. You just given to the protection of the tabot of that church. But yeah, thank you for your contribution there, Dr. Mariam. Much appreciated. Mahoy, I can see that you have your hand raised. Mahoy, Hannah Mariam.
Yes, thank you, Deacon. just to answer the question about deaconesses,
Mhm.
the role of deaconess has morphed into emahoys. We are the ones who function in modern day Ethiopia and in the diaspora um, as deaconess. Well, I shouldn't say in diaspora because outside of Jerusalem, there isn't really much. But in Ethiopia, yes, there is a deaconess who is present for the rare adult baptism. The baptism of adult female that I have attended in the States and a couple in Jamaica. Um, what we do at baptism is we put the maron, the holy oil, on the woman chest where the priest is not permitted to put his hand inside her clothes. So oftentimes, if there is not one of us present, then that part of the body doesn't get anointed because, obviously he cannot touch certain parts of her body. Also, aside from baptism, we serve at the door of the altar. We don't go on the altar. It's not permitted, but at the side door of the altar, we serve there and serve the women. Um, yeah, so deacon, if you have ever met a Emohoi in Ethiopia, you have met a deaconess. You said you haven't met anyone in a deaconess, but you have if you have met any. Yeah, so those roles over the years have morphed into what Emohois do. There was something else she asked, but I forget.
Establishment of the Mahabad.
Oh, yeah. So, yes, as I said, the sisterhood is called Sisterhood or Women's Guild, but it's basically the very, very, very basic part of it is how you start a sisterhood or a women's guild, as I said back in the 70s. It just wasn't called a Mahiber, but it is a Mahiber. It's not functioning strictly as that. As I said, it's different in the diaspora than in Ethiopia for various reasons. But when I do give a talk about this, I'll go into more detail. But your deacon is correct. It has to be at the parish level in your archdiocese. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, appreciate your information there. I would push back slightly because I know that the Emahoy, the nuns, in my experience, don't necessarily do that. I can understand what you're saying in terms of the role of deaconess has been kind of subsumed into that of the Emahoy. But we don't see nuns performing that role, on a sort of regular parish basis, or I don't see it in London or in Ethiopia. So
Well, let me say, having lived in the monastery in Ethiopia, there
yeah,
are many Emahois who don't live in the monastery, they live in the city in Addis. Adult female baptism is not as common in Ethiopia as it is in the West, right? So this is something that I know personally, what I'm speaking of. Um, the instances that I have been involved in Ethiopia, in Addis, was women from the West who came to be baptized. And yes, the priest did call for Emahoy to come and assist. So it is done.
sure. Yeah, just to complete what I was saying, I can understand what you're saying, that is being done. I'm not sure that it's officially recognizing that like all nuns who are, consecrated or tonsured nuns actually know about this ministry, and really it should be an appointment by the bishop or potentially the abbot. But yeah, as far as I know, it's not being given in that way. If you understand, if my point's clear, I'm not sure if I made my point clearly enough, but yeah, there's no formal ceremony for the appointment of the deaconess, as far as I am aware. If you're saying that it's just kind of taken over more informally, then that's quite clear. But yeah. Also, our sister Elizabeth has a question.
Well, it's not so much of a question, but what I would like to talk about, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the word right. It's Mahabir, not sure.
Yes.
But what is happening is that some of the sisters, right, heard about it, and most of the people never heard about it, right? So that would be something new for us. So what I would like, those who are in charge of this program now, maybe next year, God's willing, that if with the St. Mary's retreat, that this Mahabir can be introduced to the sisters, they can talk about it, so that we have a better knowledge of exactly what it is. So that's just my contribution.
All right. Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Yeah. Appreciate your contribution. We have about 20 minutes left. Anyone else with any comments or suggestions, questions?
Deacon, thank you. Just a little bit of background. Why this year we're at the St. Mary's retreat in Trinidad, and the reason why we've looked at this program for women is because there's been a demand, and we formed a group last year, and many of the women have come forth and said that they don't really know a lot of the practices. They don't know how to, and so why we're trying to build on these sessions is so that we can be better informed, so we can learn or establish our purpose, identify our purpose, and how to go about getting to where we'd like to be. So we've started with very simply with praying together, and that is working very well. But now we want to build on our knowledge and our understanding. You see, in the Caribbean diocese here, we're trying to incorporate or start working from the Kalawadi. Yeah. So in the Kalawadi, it doesn't have sisterhoods or brotherhoods, or here they have priest wives association. And for me, I don't like to be critical, but I'm looking for something that for myself that creates unity, more unity amongst the women, because here we haven't come in from Sunday school and from early and come through the ranks through the Sunday school. We've started off at a different place than the women in Ethiopia. So I think that's how we ended up with, perhaps, I imagine, with sisterhoods and these other groups. But I feel that we need more unity and to come together. And we're hoping that, as Sister Elizabeth said, that we can be introduced to how to form perhaps a Mahiba for St. Mary. So as you said, you're putting together the routine of how you would do it for St. Gabriel. We would want that information. And I'm not sure that there's anybody here that could help us with that, or where to look for it, So priests, if the priests don't understand or don't know about it, we need to be guided, and that's why I'm hoping that these sessions can help us to formulate a practice that can create a zeal. And I personally feel that I'm not reaching my potential in the church. I'm a bit stuck. So I would like to learn more about the women's role and avenues. And you have given us an introduction as to what is available. And I think that we would like to build on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Selassie. Yeah, you're giving me some ideas about, what else I could include. My idea for the book was fairly basic, as Mohoy mentioned, it's just kind of one part of the life of the Mabar, which is the actual gathering coming together on a monthly basis. However, there is a lot more, in terms of organization, as Sister Askala mentioned or asked, yeah, from what you've just mentioned now, you're giving me some ideas about, what else I could include, information more broadly, apart from the prayer gathering, the blessing of the bread and the cup, what I could include in there, maybe some of the history, if I can find some more history. As I said, as far as I'm aware, it just goes back into ancient times. I'm not sure that there is actually, a formal history. I've never come across anything like that as far as I'm aware. But yeah, thank you for your contribution. Askala, yeah, you've had your hand raised again.
One other question. Well, for us in Bermuda, all this is new to us. Even the word Mahabir is all new to us. So we would like to actually see what it looks like. So even if we could get a video of what it looks like in Ethiopia, so that we can have an idea. So we're new to all of this. So we would really like, and for, it would help because all the sisterhood, we could know the difference between the St. Mary's Society meetings and the Mahabir. So we need to know what's the difference. So we can pass that down to our children in Sunday school so that we can get them introduced to it at an early age. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Askala. Yes. So I'm making some notes as we speak now. I can I'm thinking now to add not only some historical background, but sort of the history in the Caribbean or the diaspora more generally, about how it's been included. So yeah, I'd say thank you to Mohoy again, who shared some of the information about the the history of the application or the inclusion of the Mahabharata in the life of the church. And regarding the video, the idea for a video, I think what I could do is potentially record a video and include a QR code in the booklet, so that you can see the different stages. If I can make sort of short videos to show each of the stages, the blessing of the bread, and then the discussion part, right? And then the mesmor and the choice of the next host and all of that. There's quite a lot that could be done there. So thank you for those ideas. Anyone else with any ideas? We have 15 minutes remaining. Ideas, questions, comments, feedback?
I have a question. Can any information be given also about dating in Orthodoxy?
Dating. I know Deacon Gorgorius put together something. So that's Ahado Studios. You should be able to find what he produced on YouTube.
Hadu
I'll see what I can
Studios?
find. Pardon?
You said Hadu Studios?
Ahadu, yeah. Ahadu. Ahadu.
Okay.
Ahadu Studios, yeah. He did I think it was like panel discussion or something like that fairly recently, within the last 6 months. So I'll reach out to you on WhatsApp. You've given me your number there. I can try and find that for you.
Okay.
As far as I know, there's no books on the subject. And yeah, in fact, dating itself is kind of introduced with the modern world. Arranged marriages were the practice. In the
Okay.
ancient church. Yeah, yeah. So
And the topic of Orthodox Christian dating a non-Orthodox Christian and working on trying to convert the man into Orthodoxy is another topic because it's kind of hard when you start dating or when you leave the church and then you start dating and you end up falling short and you start dating a non-Orthodox and then you get back into the church and you take penance and everything. You're aware of things that you're not supposed to do, so you stop doing them, and then it puts a halt on the relationship. But at times, the priest will sometimes tell you to not leave the person, try to teach the person, or you'll try to get them in contact with fellowship and everything, so that way they can be converted. But sometimes it's difficult, and you need help or advice with that. So, and marriage in Orthodoxy as well. When the marriage goes through a struggle, what are you to do then? Because then again, the priest always tells you not to leave the marriage to work on the marriage.
yes. So yeah, that's quite a big question at the end, and really it depends on the situation between the husband and wife. When a marriage breaks down, what do you do? Yeah, reconciliation should always be the first option. Yeah, the
And
first.
also,
Yes.
hold on, I lost my train of thought.
Just let me inform you and the deacon, there is a video from Sarah Sion on friendship, dating, and marriage. An interview with Liketiguan Tekle. So she can also, Sister Weleta Mariam can also look at that.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
There is a video on YouTube produced by Sarah Sion, Church in the United Kingdom, on friendship, dating, and marriage with Liketiguan Tekle Mariam.
Okay, would you be able to write that in the chat for me, please?
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that was released within the last 2 weeks. Yeah, thank you for that, Father. Yeah, that's a good reminder. Actually, the video was not produced through Razion. The woman who made the video, the host of the video, is a member, but it's not produced through the Razion Church. I know that for a fact because I spoke to her yesterday, and she told me about what she's doing. In relation to some of the interviews that I conducted for this this paper. Yeah, she told me that yeah, it's an independent project, although she received a blessing from her father confessor, and Liketiguan himself gave us some advice about how to handle matters related to media and that kind of thing. But yeah, I'd forgotten about that. And thank you for the reminder, Father, that yeah, he actually spoke on dating and so on. So yeah, in addition to Deacon Gorgorios on the Haru Studios, you can look that one up as well. I'm not sure if it's been sent in a private message. I saw something come up in the chat. If not, I can send that to you. Okay, that's the title, right? Yeah, thank you very much. Friendship, dating, and marriage. Discussion with Liketiguan Tekle Mariam.
Okay, also, what is the criteria for a deaconess? If you're interested.
It's a good question. If you look at the Vertandegest, the law of the kings, it gives you certain requirements. And you'll notice some kind of overlap, as Emohe mentioned. Now, the role of deaconess has essentially been subsumed into the role of Emohe or nun. that's certain nuns, because I know for a fact that certain nuns do not fulfill that role. But you know, I think that the point was it can be essentially it's assumed essentially, not like practically every time. So yeah, the requirements include things like you know, the woman should have been the wife of one husband. She should have washed the saints' feet, and she should have she should be over 60 years old. So these are all taken really from the scriptures. I forget is it for First Timothy or Second Timothy, but yeah, you find the requirements in there. Mohe might be able to help me some more with that. That's just off the top of my head, but you find the requirements in Ftanagus, the Law of the Kings. You can find the translation available online for free. The PDF is available on with a quick Google search, so you can look up the individual requirements there. But yeah, just to give you a few of the requirements, you know, that's basically, yeah, what I remember.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions or comments before we close out the session? Okay, if there are no other questions or comments, we would like to thank our deacon for that wonderful presentation, and it has certainly given us information that I know that we're going to act on, and we eagerly await your book and booklets and so on that you are translating and producing that can be of great assistance here in the Caribbean and Latin America. So thank you very much again, and thanks for everyone who participated. And as usual, we close with prayer. Let us say together, O peaceful King of peace, Jesus Christ, grant us thy peace and confirm unto us thy peace, and forgive us our sins, and make us worthy to go out and to come into our homes in peace. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much. Hope that you can join us for the next session this evening at 3, God willing.
Thank
Have
you
a good
very much.
evening. Thank you.
Thank you.